Hi everybody, I'm Steve Judia from Golden Prairie Honey Farms and the Save Farm. Ted is back behind you. He's our cameraman for today. We're with Henry and Adam from Bullfrog Bees in California in Winters. This is where we brought our bees to pollinate almonds in the spring. A lot of people are wanting to know why are our bees in California. We brought them here as a train the trainer so that we can train our students later on how the whole pollination cycle works. So coming from wherever you're at, through the border, what the border looks like, how to get your bees through the California border safely, get them offloaded out of the truck, put them in the correct yards. We learned as soon as we got here that it's not just any place you can find somewhere to put your bees, but there are better places to put them. And that's all thanks to Henry and Adam. So that's what we're doing. And then in the springtime, we'll move them. Springtime would be, you say February, we'll move them on to the almonds?
We'll start inspecting and moving as the weather permits, yes.
And then, okay.
Yeah, we want them on generally before the 15th, but beginning of February, they need to start moving in.
Okay. And then they'll stay there until the pollination essentially stops when the flowers stop falling?
Yeah. When the bloom's done, some ranchers will let you pull out about 10% bloom left, and other ranchers want to wait till every pass.
Or sometime around April.
So you're here.
Tom's watching us. Hi, Tom. Tom's our guy that works for our queens if he wants to come up and watch it.
Looking forward to getting you up here.
So that's what we're doing here, and we're going to go into some questions that people have had since we've been doing the Facebook Lives, and these are directed toward either Henry or Adam, either one, or both of them at the same time. A lot of our questions really derived about the boost and the patties that we were using. There was a lot of questions. So if one of you guys want to hit that, what is it? Where does it come from? What does it do? And why are you using it?
Okay, so the mellifera boost is from Bradshaw Honey down in Tulare, Visalia area. And essentially it is a stimulant for the bees. What we've noticed is we see more brood come to maturity. The queen starts to seem to kick in. It just seems, and the bees eat it super fast. Like any supplement we put on the hive, that one you throw it in there, it's gone in an hour.
It also promotes a healthy gut to help fight different diseases. It can be beneficial if you have foul brood, shock brood. It can help with that. It helps the bees to create what they need in their own gut and keep a healthy gut, which is one of the most important things for bees to fight out viruses and disease.
Okay, so that's just the boost. We had a couple more people come on. We got Danelle and Sherry. Thanks for watching. I still haven't seen Casey yet, so I'm kind of disappointed. So that was the boost. As far as the patty goes, we don't want to dog anybody else's patty, but this patty seems to get eaten and help a lot more than some of the mass-produced patties.
It's a sub like most other supplements. It's a pollen substitute for when there's no pollen left out there. A protein substitute. We just found that this patty, for exactly everything that's in it, has a lot more in it. Our bees seem to be enjoying it more and benefiting more from it. We're getting more brood out of it, and the bees seem to be healthier this year than since we've started using it.
And something else on the patties that we were, the practice that we had used that is different from you guys is we were told that going into the cold months and the colder climate that we don't want to use a whole lot of pollen because the bees use up all of their winter stores too fast and can starve. But you guys want those bees in large numbers and strong going into the winter.
And that's us.
Right.
Whether that's right or wrong, that's how we want to do it. So we're putting them on now. We probably won't be putting another pollen substitute on until we start getting ready for the almonds, which is when we do that, we'll boost them with the boost. We'll put some patties on them because we want those queens laying early. We want them to start laying a month before actually pollen, if we can get them to do it, so that we have larvae, new bees coming out, and that way the bees are ready to work because they have something to feed, and the hives will be stronger. So a lot of people do it different. I know that everybody that I've learned from puts patties on at this time going into winter so that they have a food source.
Brood builder, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and try to get them laying, you know.
So in when we're talking about having those strong hives going into the almonds, there is a certain average that you guys have to have for your contracts.
Our contracts go on an 8-frame average of 5-frame minimum. There's many different ways that they're running different programs for frame counts. 8-frame average, 5-frame minimum is the way I do it. Some of the other ways by paying by the frame and stuff like that don't pan out to the pricing anymore. So that's what we do is an 8-frame average, 5-frame minimum. And we are inspected. Our hives are inspected.
And that's just frames of bees. That doesn't count frames of brood or anything else. Just frames of bees that are inside the hive. Hi, Tim and Steve Williams. We appreciate you watching. So all the brood doesn't count because they're not live. We can't guarantee that they're going to come out. But that is just frames of bees. So if we have 8 frames of bees, then that's a guarantee. But if you have 10 or 12 or 15 in that hive, then that just increases your average.
Yeah, makes your average higher. Whereas contract-wise, if you look at the almond board things, there's ways you can work with your growers. Some growers might give a bonus for more, but there's also the pay-by-frame thing, where if you have a 12-frame average, you might make $230. But then again, if you have an 8-frame average, you're going to make less than the standard rate. So to me, unless they change that frame count, because that's still stuck back 10 years ago for the price per frame, 8-frame average, 5-frame minimum. And as for having larvae and brood in the box, yeah, they're not counting that, but that's one of the most important parts of having strong, healthy hives that are actually going to be out working effectively, because they're going to work harder because they have something they have to support and feed.
Right.
So if they're not laying eggs, if they're broodless, whatever, they're not going to work as hard because they're not feeding larvae and eggs. So
Casey's watching us now too, so we appreciate it. Thanks for watching. All right, so that goes through the boost and the patties, so this is a hard one. I don't think we've hit it yet, but this is one of those interesting questions. A lot of folks wanted to know what type of bees you have.
I have honeybees.
We asked the same question, guys. Ted and I, what kind of bees you use, and he told us, well, they're honeybees. So that answer was everybody.
So we've gotten every type of bee you can at different times. Then we graft from our own bees. So, pretty much bees are all mixed up because we're grafting from our own. So I've had Carnolians. I've had Italians. Back in the day when I very first started, we could get true Cordovans. So I'm not really very scientific. So I have honeybees. They could be of any strain or variety. We try to do most of our own grafting, but if we get behind or if we want to change up a little bit and try to get some different strains, we will try to order from a little further out if they can get them to us, and just to get a few in and get some other grafting in to switch things up and see how they work. But mostly our survivor stock is what we graft from, and that's what we have the best results from.
Okay. So as far as specific type of bee, you guys aren't terribly concerned with specific type as long as they're producing well.
As long as they're producing well, when we're looking for stuff to graft from, we start like even now, but more when we're starting in January, when we're starting to inspect hives and start getting ready for the almonds. We're looking at a hive that's not only full of bees, but it still is self-supportive with honey, nectar, pollen, and you kind of know through the year which hives that by marking the lids, which hives you've had to feed all year long. We don't want one just because it has a lot of bees that we've had to pump feed into all year long, because certain bees will pull in a lot of nectar, certain bees will lay a lot of eggs, some bees will pull in more pollen. We try to find a happy medium of all three of those that are healthy, strong, and self-supportive. And you learn that by watching the bees. The bees are going to teach you what you're doing. That's the main thing.
All right. We had some questions about, for the most part in Kansas, what we're using, and most of our customers, because that's what we sell, are using plastic frames and boxes. Where we're using wooden frames and boxes, and you guys use all plastic.
Yes.
Why do you guys use plastic frames? Where do you get them from? And boxes as well.
To go back to the last question there, it says so no bumblebees.
I don't know. No, and they were for a little bit. I saw some advertisements for bumblebees for cages, which are these seed companies that put up the tents to do research seed crops inside tents and bumblebees. They were using those a little bit, but I don't see too much of it. I've kind of looked into it to see what it's about, but don't know hardly anything about it. I know that they can be used for some sorts of pollination. I just don't know if they're quite as easy to keep and take care of as honeybees.
So, in Kansas, a lot of our hives are named. We name the hives, and some companies in our program will sponsor a hive, so we'll name the hives that way. But Danelle would like to know, do you name all your bees?
No. Yeah, they're all Henry's bullfrog bees. We have 5,000 hives right now. Our goal is to get to 8, and we don't name them all.
You did say that sometimes the guys will go out and sing and dance for them when they're out there. So. All right, so back on the plastic frames and boxes. Plastic frames and plastic boxes. Where do you get them from, and why do you prefer those?
I use a plastic box, probably mostly because I'm lazy. But no, when I started beekeeping, my dad, a friend of ours here in Woodland, is Bees Forever Plastic. It's his mold. He started it because he got sick. He threw everything into it, and so we started buying plastic boxes. If I have ever owned a wooden box, it was given to me, and I gave it away. I like them for contamination reasons. If they get contaminated with something, you just dip them in some bleach water, and there your box is done. I like them because I don't seem to break as many of them. They don't rot. They do break. They're not indestructible, but they don't break very often. They have to be hit or dropped from pretty high with heavy stuff in. Plastic frames, I started with plastic frames as well. My extractor extracts plastic frames without a hitch. And because I've started that way, I don't like wood at all. But that's not because I've used it. That's because of the equipment I have. And wood goes through my machine as well, but I've found that a lot of frames aren't uniform. Then you get swelling, you get warping, you pull the box up and the bottom bar tears off or the top bar tears off, and I don't like to deal with that stuff. So I get my frames from Acorn Frame Company, and we're starting to get, from now on when we order, it'll be all triple wax, which will save you money in drawing those frames out. They'll draw them out probably, with half the cost to draw those cells out on those frames. And Acorn, I've known Nick there at Acorn for a long time, and I know that he's been with other companies, and he's done his best to try to make a superior product. And I think he has.
I want to say hi to Candace, Steve, and Gary. Thanks for watching, Gary. I'm glad that you're here with us. We hope that we can get you up here next time. It sure be neat to have you.
Question on here is, why do we ship them to California? Some people came to us late.
Okay. So just in a nutshell, why we shipped them here was we're trying to train Ted and I so that we can eventually start teaching our students how the migratory beekeeping works. The end game is we're going to pollinate the almonds here. That's the short game is we're going to pollinate the almonds. The end game is so that we can teach our students how to do that once we get back and we perfect this to the best of our ability.
The second question, part of that question is, I'm wondering why they can't use their own.
We can't use our own bees?
Right. Why can't you only use your own bees?
Because we need almost 3 million colonies in California to pollinate almond crops. There's a shortage of bees for the acreage of almonds that have been put in. That's why the people are coming from across the nation. Bees come from as far away as Maine. So from California to Maine, I don't know if you can get any further apart.
I think that's
it's necessity.
Roughly 80% of the almonds are grown in California for the United States.
Okay, a question from Gary is for Henry. How do you structure your employees, and how many hives can one person service? And kind of expand on why.
We've kind of changed in the past year. We've got actually less employees now. So I have 5 employees, and we used to kind of go out in teams of 2, and everybody would pick a yard, and we'd start working them. But then we kind of noticed that we forget a yard. Everybody'd come back and report what was done, and then all of a sudden, 2 months later, it's like, oh, well, nobody's done this yard. Nobody's gone back there with the queen. So what we found to be most effective and efficient for us, we're not behind anymore, and everybody seems to be happier as well, as we go as a team and work from yard to yard and flow through. We flow through the valley, and then we go up to the coast and we flow through those yards there. We work the 5,000 hives we have right now. We're getting to them about once a month, unless it's like, hey, we need to get back up there and do something specific to that yard. The old standard used to be 1 guy per 1,000 hives. It's not necessarily that anymore because of mites, disease, and stuff like that you have to look for. But as for working the hives, we're not trying to get into them every day anyway, so that rotation works out perfect. When we finish getting through the full rotation, then it's time to go start either with the next phase, if we've done protein supplement, feeding, stuff like that, and then the next time we may be going and treating. The only time we're hitting hives more than once a month or so is when we're treating with something. Some treatments require every 7 days. So when we're doing the treatments that require every 7 days, that's all we're doing, and we can get through the 5,000 hives in about 4.5 days.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's all we're doing. We're getting the treatment on. And then as soon as we're done, we usually take 1 to 2 days cleaning up around the shop, and then we start the round again. And for those 21 days, that's what we concentrate on. We check them, mark them if they need feed, and then when we finish, if we got a bunch that need feed in those 2 days, instead of cleaning the shop, we'll go up and we'll run around to spot feeding real quick and do a thing. We do task at hand now. We go out with a goal. That's what we do, and then we come back. And then when we're done with all that, then we'll go out. Start going through hives, and that takes longer. So about a month, except for when treating, is when we'll get back into each hive.
So you hit each hive about once a month, unless you're feeding or you're doing something that like treatments that needs to be done.
And checking queens, when we make splits, we got to get in there, but we wait about 20 days, 21 days. A lot of people go back in 15 days, but in a 10-frame box, sometimes it's hard to find an egg or something. So you give it 21 days, it's a lot faster.
Yeah. We've got Jason and Eric. I want to say hi. Thanks for joining us. So here in a minute, we're going to get to that mite treatment in just a second, but I've got one thing that I want to ask these guys. How important is it that you guys stay task at hand? If you have guys starting to dig down in hives, and you're trying to feed and check for queens and check for brood, do all these things at one time, is that something you can still do, or is that just throw you off and then you end up way behind again?
Well, a lot of times as you saw when we're putting the patty on the urethral boost, I showed you just tilt the frame a little bit. If you see some nice light colored brood, you pretty much know you got a queen. You can tell by the strength of your hive. You saw me, I marked some that I'm going to go back to now that we're done. Mm-hmm. And in a yard, I might have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 that I wanted to go back and look at. So I can go back and do that now. So it's just, if we do that, we can get stuck in a yard or, well, what happens then is if, say we're doing some kind of treatment regimen, well, then we may not get through that treatment regimen in 7 to 10 days, and then you're throwing your cycle of treatment off, which makes it pretty much nil. So we task at hand. It's pretty important for us, and it's been the way we were operating about half of last year and this year as a team instead of as teams. Mm-hmm. And it's just been so much more efficient for us, and it's worked out so much better.
It's faster. It almost makes it so if you're in the yard feeding, if you have 5 guys, the one guy can kind of check a hive really quick if he needs to,
But we'll go back, like I said, now. And then if we know we got a bad yard where there's maybe 10% of them are 6 framers instead of 10, 11, 12 framers right now, Okay, well, that yard we'll go back to as a team and go through it real fast and see if we can maybe add a frame of brood. We're getting into winter now where pretty soon that we won't even do that. We'll wait until it's time to get ready for almonds, and then we'll be doing that. You guys will see a different thing then. Then we're going to be bringing bees in for inspection, fixing that load, getting it as ready as we can. So we'll be spending a little more time with each area. You know, if we're bringing them here, we'll do it here, and then if we got this loaded up, we can't get them in the field after we inspect, we'll be going to the yards and doing the same thing, and we'll get that yard ready for almonds. So then that's spending more time on that yard, getting it ready, you know, fixing what you can, setting aside what you can't.
Equalizing.
Yeah, we'll try to equalize the ones that are worth fixing, that can grow, and then there's some that, you know, you don't want to waste your time on. You know, if you got a really strong, maybe add a frame of brood, kick it to the side, and maybe bring some strong ones in, maybe give it another frame, and later it might be strong enough. If it's not, well, then you start making your nukes and stuff happen. You know, so.
There was something about mite treatments. I think what we're going to talk about in mite treatments specifically is something you had talked to us about was rotating your treatments.
Mm-hmm.
So if you use Mite Away quick strips for 2 years, then maybe switch and go to Apivar or Apigard or something else, and then switch to something else.
Or even rotate within each year.
Okay.
Use Formic coming out of almond. I personally, because of the chance of damaging queens, and it's pretty well made now where if you do it exactly the way they say, you're not going to have as high of a queen left. But me personally, this is just my opinion, I like to use something like Formic right before they're going to be released from the almonds. We go throw the Formic on them. When we put them on the trunk, and when we drop them, we're going to rip them in half. I don't care if the queen got smoked or not. We're going to put a cell in everything. Mm-hmm. So I do that just for my own conscience.
Right.
But
Get a good knockdown of the mites when they come out.
And I also do a half dose. I do one strip, then in 15 days do a roll. See what you got. If you still have a high mite count, put the other strip on. You know, I don't do a double strip on any of them because I don't want to go out there. You know, if you read the things, just vent and do all this stuff, and we don't have time to go ship boxes over so they don't fall down. Get the thing on. We just throw the thing on, and then we do. Mite rolls are they're important. You can buy that little cup from Manlake, or you can make them out of jars. Very simple to do. Important part is what bees you're taking. You don't take a bunch of worker bees. You take the bees that are tending to the brood that just hatched. Mm-hmm. You want to find some that are just hatching, just emerging brood. Mm-hmm. Get the bees off of there. Very easy to do. It's important to do those. They say 2 months. I say every month. And we are starting to do that more. It's something that we're learning and we're doing more. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to implement like he and I to do mite rolls. But you can do that when you're going through doing the yard like we did. You can do 10%. Yeah, right. 10 right there. Yeah.
So what they've explained to us is what Henry and Adam explained to us is that with 5,000 hives you can't check every one, so they use a 10 or a 20% rule. If they have we got a couple more people that just came in, Mike and Herman. We appreciate you guys coming and watching us. But that 10% rule, and then you said if it looks bad, do another 10%.
No, that's on inspecting hives for almonds for your frame count.
Look at that tree.
Yeah, you do 10%. Yeah. You do 10% because you do stuff on averages. So if you're testing the yard and you test 10%, and people have a different threshold for mites that they want to do. So, and there's a formula for the squares if you're using a sticky board. There's a formula for how many are in a jar. But if you're past your threshold, well, then you treat. You don't have to test anymore. You know that these 10 have it. Yep. Treat the yard. And, you know, check every yard. Sometimes you may not have to treat them all. If you get 3 yards that are like that, then good chances you need to treat every yard. Out here, especially in almonds, we have drift. A lot of drift, which makes it really hard to treat.
So when we're talking about yards here, a lot of people back home, when we talk about our apiaries, we might be talking about 5, 10, even maybe 20 hives. When you guys talk about yards here, how many, I think you're the numbers guy, about how many hives are in a yard for you guys?
On the low end, it's 80 hives, and on the high end, it's roughly like 280 or so. And that's we'll kind of spread them out. Usually, like a drop of 144 over here, a drop of 144 over there. But you drive anywhere around California, you'll see yards of 100 plus hives all over.
So when he's saying that he's going to check 10% of his yard, that's why he can check 10%, because they're going to drift back and forth. If you've only got 1, 2, 3, 10 hives, just micro all of them. Or if they're close together, you know they're going to drift back and forth. So if you treat one, go ahead and treat the other one. I think is the
You do not. If you got 1, 5, 10, or 100 hives in one yard, you don't just treat one hive for mites. Yeah, you treat them all.
So we already went through the triple wax. We noticed that in one way that you got some more folks coming. We got Mary, Susan, and Mike. We want to say hi. Thanks for joining. We really appreciate everybody that's watching. We hope that if you guys have got questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, and Ted will shoot them toward us while we're going. So we noticed when we were working the yards and you had a hive that was just a little bit weak, that you would take that hive and we could move it to a spot where you said there was a strong one, and we moved the strong one back over. Now a lot of people say, well, you can't do that. You got to move them. You got to move an inch, or you got to move them a mile. So why, if you can explain to everybody, why is it okay to do that when we've been taught for so long not to?
I was taught an inch a mile. I was taught that. In a yard, when we're fixing a dead out or something like that, or a weak hive, some of those are hives that are yay or nay if they're going to make it. Don't want to invest pulling a bunch of brood out of another hive to try to fix that hive if it's not going to make it. So I move it over to one that's really, really strong, and I'm going to get that field force coming back in to help that one out. So it's going to put more bees in it, and it may or may not get better. But I don't want to waste, at this time, pulling a bunch of brood out of something else and then not making it through the winter. Hey Gary, thank you. I appreciate that, and I actually appreciate you guys coming up here and giving us the opportunity to help. It helps us as well. We're all working together like this.
So for those of you who may have came in a little late or don't know the whole story of how we got here, how Save got here with Henry and Adam, it was Gary LaGrange, our founder. He was at a conference, and he met a young man named Alex. Alex is a veteran who lost his legs, and he was a beekeeper, and he had, I think, about 500 hives of his own. Alex knew Henry and was working with Henry, as Henry being his mentor here in California. And through the whole process, we said, hey, we're going to move our hives to California. And Alex said, hey, call Henry. And so we got a hold of Alex, and for a couple of months, we were on the phone with Alex and Henry, and then Alex, and then back and forth. And finally, Alex said, just call Henry. He's a great guy. He'll talk to you. And so now we ended up here, and Henry has been so helpful. We have learned so much in the 4 days we've been here, 3-4 days. We've learned so much. We've seen so many different things. Had a lot of neat experiences that just didn't, well, I didn't even know we could do that. And it's so great that somebody with his experience and with Adam's experience, that they're willing to help us and train us when we're trying to learn new things. So that's who Henry is. He's the owner of Bullfrog Bees. Adam is one of his employees, and these guys have been a great help. And I just wanted to let everybody that came in afterward know what was going on and why we're here.
They can check us out on bullfrogbees.com. And if they've got questions or want to learn a little bit about honey production and sales, they can hit the link for Peer. On the Peer.California something. You guys have the website on your deal.
We'll get it posted on our Facebook page too, so that you guys can have that link to see Henry's page and the honey page for the Pure honey page.
Yeah, my daughter's pretty good about wanting to put helpful advice and information out there for education for students as well as other as adults and grown-ups. So.
Okay. So one of the next questions we had was, where are the bees going to go next? So right now they're setting on one of Henry's properties, called the White Barn, because there's a White Barn there, which is very similar. Which is very similar to how we name ours. We have places like the Andersons, and because it's on Anderson Road. So we say hi to Alex. Thanks for joining us. So right now those hives are there, and Ted was helped us a lot. We didn't know that there was specific places we wanted to place our bees in California. We thought I thought California was California. The bees are just going to sit there until they go on the almonds. And through, once again, talking to Adam and Henry, they said, man, if you can get them closer to the coast, they're going to help a lot, because there's constantly things blooming. And I'm going to let Henry or Adam, one of you guys, explain that. Where are our bees going to go next, and why do we want them there as opposed to here?
Well, a lot of it has to do with pollen diversity, and up at the coast there's a lot of pollen year-round. So you can get them up to the coast, they're going to do better, they're going to get healthier. They may stay a little more active in laying, so that's where Adam and I will go up and do a couple night rolls for you, make sure we don't need to get another treatment on. If so, we'll notify you, because we want them to lay a little more. But the most important thing for bees is pollen diversity, nectar diversity, and healthy pollens. That's what's at the coast. Just so happened that Ted had some contacts at the coast, and I told him, if you got contacts at the coast, let's get your bees there. The valley is dead right now. There's nothing here except a lot of bees. And so if we can get them up there, you're in a much more healthy environment, and that's what we'll do. And from there, we'll wait till it's just about time to get in the almonds. We'll get them down here, we'll get them inspected, and we'll get them in.
Okay. And for me, I grew up in Kansas, so if somebody told me that I'm going to put my bees on the coast, I'm thinking we're going to put them on the Sandby Beach. So when you say by the coast,
Coastal range,
what is it? 100 miles in?
No. He's literally only probably 20, 30 miles from the coast where you guys are sitting there.
So it's not right on the beach when he's talking about that. He's talking 20, 30, maybe.
The whole coastal range, the coastal mountain range.
So, yeah. Okay, so on the other side of the coastal mountains. Once they come out of there, they'll come out of there and go to the almonds, or will they come back?
If we go there to inspect them, if the weather's right and we just run up there and inspect them and inspect a few of my yards and they're good and we get them all ready, well, then we'll wait for a dry spell when we can get into an orchard. Then we'll go up there and get them and put them in. Best thing to do is leave them there absolutely as long as we can. But, it all has to do with weather. If we can get up there and inspect them and it's going to be a dry spell, we may leave at 10, 11 o'clock in the afternoon, go up there and inspect them. About 4:30, throw them on the truck. About 5:30, it'll be dark. We'll be on our way back with them. Get up about 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning, go put them in the orchard.
Okay. So, go ahead, Ted.
A question from Gary. When we want, or if we can get to it now or next, but your advice regarding how we can best grow to 500 hives by next spring would be very helpful. And then, personnel requirements as well.
It depends on the bee health coming out of the thing. If your bees come out healthy and you've got 150 hives, it is possible to get from 150 hives to 500 by doing splits in different ways. Me personally, I'm going to rip my stuff in half and see where I get. There's other ways to do splits where you can break them down much smaller, but I know as well you guys are in honey production. So that might not be the most efficient way for you guys to be able to get into honey production. So you may be doing just top splits and you may be able to get quite a few that way as well. So it all determines how many you have survived and what you're going to do with the bees for the rest of the year. We only take a small portion of our bees to go out for honey flow. The rest of them are split down, make more bees, and grow. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. You might need, I don't know how many people work full-time on your bees. Just you? So you may need one other person, the two of you, to work pretty hard during splitting time. And then once they're clean from mites, queens are checked, then it's the basic thing of, about once a month going out and checking them or throwing a honey super on them or something like that. Once you cleaned them up prior to going into any honey, it's best to clean them up before splits. That's something I'll work on with you guys about doing here before it's time to split. We'll get them cleaned up, get the mites at them, do all that. Then it's get your cell in them or get your mated queen into your splits and put them where you want to put them and let them grow.
You said once a month. A lot of places will say 10 to 14 days. What's your take on 10 to 14 days or a month when we're checking on our normal inspections? Now, of course, mite treatments and feeding, that takes precedence.
On normal inspections, if I only had 500 hives and I had 2 of us, we would try to be doing it only with one. Granted, you need to go. I don't have the honey flow like you may have in Kansas. You may have to get out there and check for super and stuff. But as for getting in the hive, you can go out there once a month. You've already checked, made sure that queen was good. You've already treated for mites. Go out there once a month, do a mite roll. Check in your frames. If you've got nice light colored brood, maybe pull one frame and do an inspection for eggs. But as for, I did it when I started. We're digging through these hives, pulling frames out. When I get a new guy, he'll have all the frames out, nothing in the box. Bees do best when left alone. They've survived thousands of years without us messing with them. Didn't have problems until we started. So my opinion, and this is only my opinion, doesn't come from any basis, is, if you don't have to get into the bees, if you know you've done your job, then you're just periodically checking to make sure they're still got a queen and stuff like that. Okay. So that's just my opinion. Everything is my opinion. It's like I told these 2, 1,000 ways to keep bees, none of them are right.
Yeah.
That's my motto. And other than that, what they've learned is task at hand.
Yes, and that's very important. There's no way that we could have gotten through. What did we get through? Close to 1,000 hives?
Over 1,000 hives.
Over 1,000 hives.
We did probably 2,000 between you guys and my guys. Yeah.
In a week's time, specifically because when we were out there, every time that we went Facebook Live, we were doing the same thing. Boost, patty. Lift the lid, check them, make sure all the bees are there. Boost, patty, shut the lid, go on. Same thing, very repetitive, very redundant, but it gets the job done because that's the job that needs to be done. I'm going to ask Henry and Adam a couple of questions just for them. And if you guys have any questions, get them in now before we go off. Bill and Howard, hi, thanks for joining us. Not everybody has 5,000 hives, and you can't just decide one day, I'm going to be a beekeeper, I'm going to have 5,000 hives.
Yeah.
So how did you get to 5,000 hives, and after that, where are you at? Because we know you have some of your hives, and where are your goals to move forward?
Well, I started with 200 hives because the family ranch put in an orchard, and they needed a beekeeper, and I was the one that decided to say I'd do it. From there, I was able to grow up to about 1,200-1,300 hives on my own. And then, I got up to 900 the first year, lost all but 120 because the colony collapsed. So it's been a lot of learning, and it's actually been quite a long road. I thought I would be, every year I think I'm going to be at that 8,000. For the past 4 years, I probably should have been there. But just different issues have happened. Last year, I had a lot of problems. I lost 400 hives to flooding, lost hives to a couple of other things, and lost hives to mites as well, some of the hives. That's why, we're going through and doing things differently now. So it's been tough to get to where I'm at. But, if I have a good year this year, well, even if I say out of my 5,000 hives, if I only rent 4,000, if they're strong enough, I rip them in half and that's 6,000. So it shouldn't be a problem to get to where I want to be. I basically started because our family put in almonds, and landowners for land that my family has farmed for as long as I've been alive, they started wanting almonds, so it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's where we're at. I'm going to need about 8,000 hives to cover the few contracts that I have. So.
Okay, so he started at 200, and then at one point he was at 900, and a bunch of them died because of colony collapse. He ended up back almost at what would you say, 190 or almost?
I rented 125 that year.
Rented 100, so 125 of his hives went to the almonds that year, and now years later he's back to right at 5,000.
Yeah.
So just because if you're trying to do something like this, or just because you get kicked and you get knocked down, don't give up.
It's beekeeping.
Yeah. If you're not losing bees, then you need to sell, your secret. So, hi Manfred, thanks for joining us. Thanks for everything you do for us.
I think one thing that I did to grow, and like I've learned, is it's very important to stay teachable. No matter what, when you think you've got it down, then that's probably when you're going to have a problem. To learn from everybody. Adam's been a real asset coming over here because I'm not a techie person. I don't look on a computer and do all that stuff. He's done a bunch of research that has helped us get to the nutritional things that we're using now and to different sorts of treatment rotations. So that's really benefited. Along with now I have a crew that is, I've got guys that have a lot of experience, and I've got a couple guys now that are getting that experience and finally willing to learn from the others. You've got to break them from that new guy that knows everything. And now they are, and I've got a good crew that I can rely on, and a good research guy over here that's been beneficial to our company.
So where are you? When did you start working for Henry, or when did you start working bees? And
So
where are you at?
I started working for bees first, actually. It might have been like a little over 3 years ago, and doing the honey. And I asked Henry for more hours in the bees, and then a little bit down the road, my dad was selling a quad, so I asked Henry if he wanted to trade the quad for a couple pallets of bees. And then this year I've gotten up to around 160 or so hives, and like 200 or so after almonds, and kind of keep it there, and maybe do some queens and buy a nicer truck and
keep working for me.
Yeah.
So he went from a 4-wheeler quad to 2 pallets, and now he's at 160. These guys out here, when they split and they decide to do bees, they're going to do bees. It's not like, and it's not saying that everybody has to have 100 hives, but the main, the most profitable thing while you're in California is the almond pollination. So that's what they're going to go for. For us in Kansas, we're not pollinating anything. We grow beans and corn and wheat both pollinate themselves. So maybe we pollinate some of the wheat, we get some stuff on alfalfa and stuff like that, but we don't get a pollination service charge. So we're honey production and they're pollination. So we just got a question. It says, the honey that's made from the almonds, does it taste good?
No. If you've ever gone to the store and got that little bottle of bitter almond for your cookies, put 3 drops on your tongue. No, it doesn't taste that good, and really I've never produced enough honey in the almonds to do anything. Pretty much that's when the bees are blasting, so that if you have a good strong hive that has room and the queen's producing, they're using a lot of that, they're eating it up pretty fast, and then we're ripping our hives in half and moving that little bit of honey to our split. So we've never pulled honey from almonds. I've had a fingerful of it before, and I did not care for it.
There's so many bees around in almonds that you couldn't really make too much honey anyways.
Yeah. Next worst thing I'd say would be onion honey.
Onion honey. So when he says onion honey, there's something else that they do in California that I didn't even think was a thing until I started talking to you guys. They also do summer pollination for the large crop growers that are out here. What else do you pollinate during the summer that other than onions?
Oh,
That sounds awful.
It's seed. There's seed companies around here. Most of your biggest seed companies in the world. This is a very large hub from Pioneer, Monsanto, places like that. Generally don't like to do it. Have to do it to feed my guys. But we do onions. We do sunflowers, and I do most of my sunflowers for my brother and for Pioneer, and a couple other seed companies that my brother grows for. So that's the majority of what I do. I do have two small onion growers that I work for. Do we do research? We do research. I've done some research programs with. At one time, it was a thing for Biosa, which is a probiotic you add to your feed, which they kind of stopped doing stuff. So, and now there's some other companies that we use their products. We use we use a product called Epicure. Yeah, I always get that wrong. It's Epicure. We add that to our feed, and when we're making splits in the spring and through half the summer, we're feeding it in every tote. And that's probiotics. Everything. What the research has shown is a lot everything has to do with the bee's gut. Mm-hmm. Everything that they can fight, and there's viruses they can't, but if they have a stronger gut, they have more of a chance. I've been open to different research programs for other places anytime they need. Bees on him.
Can we get a little bit more specific?
I got a big pot farm right next door to me, and my bees are doing pretty good over there.
do they put bees on hemp in California is the question.
Not yet. So most of the hemp grown here is for the CBD isolate that they make, and they don't put males in there. It's all females, so there's no flower, and they wouldn't benefit from bees. But they used to, a long time ago, do fiber production for seed and stuff like that, where they would put bees in, and it was males and females.
The fiber production for like hemp rope and
hemp rope, and then also you'll see hemp seed in your stores, and it's actually to like eat for breakfast and stuff. Like it's a fiber, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the bees are good for that.
For that
crop
production, yeah. If they wanted to do a fiber hemp seed or something like that.
It just got legalized here, so the large scale hemp growers are just starting off.
Yeah.
You know, so but yeah, I would. I mean, if a hemp guy needed to rent some bees, I'd rent them to him. I'm not opposed to that at all. I think hemp should have never gone out. I mean, they can make every product that now they want to get rid of out of hemp. Plastic cups, bottles, all that stuff could be made out of hemp. So I don't think that should have ever been illegal in the first place. So.
What else we got? So you got any?
You know your list of some more questions, yeah.
There's two more on here.
Okay, so when's the next step for Save? When are we coming down here for the next? We're coming down here 3 more times. So about when and for how long and why?
So about mid-January, you guys are going to come down, and we're going to work the hell out of you by inspecting hives, getting your hives ready. Right now, it's kind of, we don't really want to fix much because you might fix something and it might just go further downhill and you just made another one weaker than you know. So kind of let them go for now. But in mid-January, we'll start inspecting because you have to be in the almonds by mid-February. So if we inspect and have a dry spell and the bees are ready to go, we'll move them in. So when you guys come down in mid-January, we'll be inspecting your hives, and you guys will be helping me inspect some of my hives. And hopefully then, and I'm pretty sure then, if you're here for a week or two, we'll get some days when I can take you guys with me and we can move some bees in. So then you know just how that process goes. It's not that hard, but you guys want to learn every aspect of this, so we'll do that. After that, you may want to come down in another month, in May or March. In March or February, even the end of February, I'd say mid to end of February, when the trees have been in full bloom. That's the problem. We don't know if the trees bloom early or not. Usually it's the middle of February, but it could be, I've had them full bloom by the 4th and 5th of February before. So that's why we want to get them ready and get them in before that. But so mid-February, coming back up, we're going to run out there. We're going to check your nutrition. We're going to make sure you got enough weight on them. You know, sometimes you have to get a shot of feed because if there's almond trees all around you and thousands of beehives all around you, and you're not making enough nectar to support her laying eggs, then you need to give them a shot of feed for that. And you want to do that to build them up for your splits. So then, and at that time, we do other things too. We'll go through and inspect your hives for yourself again. Maybe even your pallet up so that when it is time to split them when they come out, you can split all 4 of them. Maybe you got to share brood from other ones to get them ready to do that. But you do that. This one's a little light. Well, we'll make sure there's at least 2 frames of brood in each box, so when you rip them in half, you got to split.
Yeah.
Right.
So then after that,
Hey, sorry, guys.
it'll be time, a couple of weeks to 3 weeks after that. There's my daughter, Denise, the honey queen.
Say hi to Kansas.
Say hi.
Oh, you guys are on video?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you.
Come on in.
Come say hi.
Okay.
This is my daughter, Denise. She runs
Hey,
the
guys.
Pure Honey Company. So
We're going to be bringing some of her cool honey stuff back with us in the spring. We may actually get some shipped. We're not sure yet, but we tasted something, and I think we both died a little bit inside because we never tried it.
It was just too good.
Then here's the old guy, the big boss.
Oh, yeah.
And we're on Facebook Live right now doing an interview.
Good.
This is Burnell Harlan. This is my dad. He's the one that got me into bees. And I thank him very much most of the time. Oh, he's the big boss.
You got to have somebody pollinate the orchard.
We'll be done in a little bit. So so then you'll be coming up when it's about time to get the bees out.
And that'll be mid-March.
Yeah, we'll get the bees out, and that might be, you might move that last move I just told you closer to when they're about to come out, so we can go through, get them ready, maybe get a treatment on them with some formic, knock them down, knock the mites down,
Right.
and then like I said, even them out. Maybe this one's got 4 frames of brood in the bottom, but no brood in the top. But these got a whole bunch top and bottom. Well, we'll take a frame and a frame and a frame, put it in the top over here. That way, when we get them to the yard, you got brood in every box, rip it in half. You don't have to look.
Right.
So, and then from there, we'll get some cells in. You guys will learn how to graft.
Yeah.
We'll have the cells going before we make the splits. Let's make that clear, because you don't want to make splits if you don't know cells are coming off. So,
The exact number, yeah.
and then from there, it's a matter of getting them on a truck and getting them home to you. So, and we'll do a little grafting classes here.
Yeah.
And then your friend, what was his name?
Tom.
Tom, if you can get him up there, we'll have him with some of our people. He can teach us some things, and we can teach him some things.
We'll just put Tom in the queen room, and they can do queen stuff, and we'll go out and work bees.
That's fine. He can graft his little to his heart's delight. It's timing on grafting. You don't want to graft if there's no drones.
Right.
There's no point in it. So it's timing on that. We tried to start it early, but you can graft all you want, and they may make cells, but if there's no drones yet, But yeah, and then so you'll pretty much get everything through the splits, and then get back up to your hi Susan, and then you'll get back up, get your bees back up there. Should be once they get up there, it won't be long. You'll be checking for make sure those queens mated, unless you find mated queens to put in here, which is another option. So that when you get up there, you'll do a spot check. You'll check all your hives, make sure you got mated queens, make sure they'd be released from the cages, get maybe a little piece of protein padding on them to get a kick going, and give them a little boost. And then you guys will be moving to your honey locations, and then you guys will take it from there.
So,
Gary would like to know, where does the name Bullfrog Bees come from?
we asked the same thing.
It's kind of fun. That the old guy you just saw right here, my dad. Me and my dad kind of have a sense of humor, and my dad's got La Cucaracha Nut Company. He's got Harlan Land and Rabbit. It's got certified Angus jackrabbits, because nothing grows out there but the rabbits. And so we were looking for a name for this, and I was still commuting from Bakersfield to here to do my 200 hives, and he found a picture of this bullfrog, and he thought, get the jump on pollination. So that's where it came from, and it's kind of stuck.
Stuck ever since.
Yep. And plus, the frog had a beer in his hand. I didn't want to say that, but the frog had a beer in his hand. All we had to do was put a bottle of honey there instead of a beer.
So something that we had asked you, but kind of asked when we weren't on video was. Every year, do you guys replace queens, and why? And how does that? Why is it important or not?
Well, migratory beekeepers are hard on queens. We're moving bees a lot. Sometimes we're getting into crops where we can't get to them and they're getting sprayed, or we don't get told they're getting sprayed, or the field a mile away is getting sprayed.
Or it's in the water.
So we're pretty vigorous now about looking at queens, and if we start to see 3 empty cells, 3 empty cells, 3 empty cells, 3 empty cells, we're starting to watch that. Now we won't kill her right then unless we have queens. We'll let her lay, we'll mark it. Then when we go catch, then we'll go back and we'll kill her and replace her, because if she's already starting to slow down in the summer and starting to get spotty, she may be done by the time winter hits. And she may look good right up to winter, but she may not start again when summer starts. So in migratory beekeeping like we do, through reading and through learning from other people, it's just been working best if you're replacing as many queens as you can every year. Requeen. Some of the big guys requeen. They might have 20,000 colonies. They requeen every single colony every year. No matter what. They don't bother looking. They go in there, they kill the queen, and they requeen. And so we do that. We start off by starting our splits. You saw the red dots. Just road marking paint works the best on your bee hives. It stays on and marks. It stays bright. I get different colors for if they're in the onions, if they're in the sunflowers, or if they got a new queen. So when we do our splits, red dot for the new queens that we put in already. And then that way we know when we go out to a field, the first bees we're going to want to check are the ones without a dot. You know, yeah.
That queen is
very good. Sometimes we get through them all, sometimes we don't. But that's the goal. I've just learned, and I think we have better bees because we're requeening more. You know, it's tough down here. This valley, this whole California. If you're anywhere in a valley in California, it's agriculture, and there's a lot of stuff being done in agriculture that can hurt bees. And so, you know, ideally, if you're say in Kansas and you don't ever move your bees anywhere, you know, a queen could last you a few years. I've had queens that have lasted 3 years in the box and still been laying great. And I said, wow, I remember when I got that queen.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll kill her. And sometimes you don't want to. You know, it makes you feel kind of bad. You kill this beautiful looking queen. You know, you really got to pay attention to legs and wings and stuff like that. Missing a front leg, she's got to go right away. Front legs are the most important.
So they feel inside.
That's how they feel the cells. Back leg, you guys saw one the other day. She's still laying good. We marked the box. We'll go get one of our nukes, and we'll replace that queen with a nuke. But she was still laying good, so I'm not going to kill her now in case we forget to get back out there. But she's missing a back leg. I've seen queens with no legs or no wings laying like some. Some people actually clip their queen's wings. You know, once they're mated, they'll clip the wings and they can't fly out. So.
You had also talked to us about wax and how the older wax can cause problems in your hive.
Yeah, you want to cycle wax out every so often. I've heard suggestions every 4 to 5 years. Essentially, the brood comb, it slightly gets smaller every time that the queen lays an egg in there. It gets lined again and cleaned again, and they put a little bit more wax on there, so the bees get smaller over time. You also get a lot of anything that gets sprayed, pesticides, fungicides. Those will get into your wax, and so it's just best to get rid of them after a few years.
Do we have any other questions coming from you guys?
Nope. No more.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody. I don't want to burn too much of these guys' time. I appreciate it. We want to say thanks to Henry. Alex couldn't make it here today, but he was the one that set us up with Henry. So big thank you to Alex, to Adam. These guys have been a huge help. We've learned so much, and we're going to continue to learn a lot more as we go through. There's a lot of things that we could bring up that we're going to wait on because we could be here for hours. We'll talk about later on as we come down the line. We'll try to be specific on what we're doing right then. So if we're doing at the end of the year when we're doing splits, we'll really get into how do we do the splits, you know, how do we prepare them for that and that sort of stuff. So if you have those questions, write them down and hold them until then so that we're not trying to get everything in one day. So you guys have anything else, Ed?
I don't.
All right.
Thank you guys for letting us be a part of this program. We appreciate it. I think it's good to help
It's a lot of fun.
veterans and other people. I like to help people. So
we really appreciate all your help. Wouldn't be possible without you. If it was possible, it'd be really difficult. So All right, thanks, and we'll see y'all later.